by engagement? Is it only the physical engagement? We are talking in a webinar, it's not physical engagement, because maybe you are sitting there in front of the screen, devices, and maybe you are listening. But there are so many more things that I want the participants to be able to do. So, are you able to, or I should put it like this, am I able to make you think, imagine, you know, visualize, connect to your classroom situations? Because you all have so many experiences of your own classrooms. So are you able to go back to your classroom and connect to what we are discussing here? And then are you able to think that what happens in your classroom when you use any of the strategy that we are discussing right now? So can you anticipate what will happen? So if you are able to do all these things, it means you are meaningfully engaged, because engagement should be meaningful. And now, if we talk about our own classrooms, as an educator, as a teacher, engagement does not only mean like physical engagement. We are talking about the mental engagement. When we are in our classrooms, are we able to make our students think? Are we able to make them imagine, visualize, process the information that we are giving? And after that, are they able to apply it? So, knowledge transfer is very important. So, are they able to apply it? And then finally, are they able to create something new? We are talking about creativity. So, if our students are able to do all these things, that means they are meaningfully engaged. So, that is why it is very important to understand the meaning of engagement. Now, next comes art. The topic of today, art integration. So for that, first we have to understand what is art. So here, a little task for you. Can you please type the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word art? Any one word that comes to your mind. And yes, there can be a few people who like think, oh, I'm not good at arts. That can be the first idea. But yes, other than that, if you have to type one word, all right, so what that word would be? As soon as someone says art, what is the first word? Okay, so joyful, color, creativity, creative, all right, drawing, imagination, clip art, all right. There's so many responses coming. Yeah, colors, imagination, ideas. All right, that's great. That's great. Thank you for responding, dear participants. Now, whether we say drawing or we say joy or we say creativity, we all understand one thing, that art cannot be just a subject. Like someone is saying something different. Of course, it cannot be just a subject. We can say it's a form of expression. It can be an instinct, human instinct. So let me take you back, like thousands of years back, when, early humans, they lived in the forest, they lived in caves. Okay. At that time, there was no language developed. Like right now we have language. They didn't have. How did they communicate? So if one example we have to discuss, they drew on the walls of the caves. Okay. And what, that was not just decoration. What did they draw? What was that? So we can say that that was a kind of a source of communication. That was a survival guide. That was a learning resource. That was a storytelling tool for them. And what did they draw about? So maybe which animal is very dangerous, how to hunt animals, or maybe where do we find food? And now, if we think about it, they drew what they experienced. So we talk about experiential learning. So they drew what they experienced, and those who saw those pictures, for them, that was visual learning. So, art has been helping us since the beginning. Okay. And without art, we cannot imagine human progress, because art helps us to think, to remember, and to innovate. And here I would like to give you like another example. We talk about one of the greatest human invention. If we talk about fire, how was that invented? It did not happen in a laboratory or using some gadgets and all. It happened through experiment. Okay, and that was unconscious experiment. So art allows us to experiment, and when we experiment, then there are chances of new inventions and innovation. And art does not always happen consciously. Sometimes consciously, when we ask our children, our students, to draw, to role play, or to make some models, that is conscious, but sometimes it happens unconsciously. Okay, so just imagine why our traffic signals have colors and images like symbols, and why we see that students are able to remember a diagram more than a paragraph, why rhyme helps them remember better, because our brain functions in this manner, that we brain loves patterns and images and rhythm and stories. And that is why art is important, because it provides all of these. Okay, so we cannot take art as an extra activity. it Art is how our brain organizes information, and that is why we remember it better. And just imagine one more thing. All right, how many of us keep changing the setup of our house? We keep shifting furniture. I am one of them. So like every now and then I would change the position of the furniture in my house to see how it looks better. Okay, and if you think in if you just think about it, this is actually design thinking. We do this. We change the way we present our food. We change the way we decorate salad. So what are we doing? How would it look better? How can I improve it? So here, this is also design thinking. Okay, when we choose the colors of like painting our house, interior, exterior, we choose color. That is in a way visual art. How would it look good? Okay, we are visualizing. We not only in class do we do the storytelling, outside the class, when we have to explain someone something difficult, something complicated, we explain it in the form of a narrative, a story. Okay, so that is again literary art. And we ask children sometime to dance. We do we say action song. So what is that action song? That is performing art, because that helps children learn and remember it. And even if we talk about digital art, this presentation, this slide right in front of you, you can see the topic written, and then there is a picture, there is a visual. Why? To help you visualize your classroom, where we have different kinds of learners and they are doing different activity. So this slide is helpful for you to understand it better, visualize it better. And at the same time, it might not be working. If there is a slide where there is a lot of written text there, maybe it doesn't work. So whether it works, it doesn't work, but this is art. And art us to experiment. That is one thing we have to remember. It provides safe space to the children where they can experiment. And art does not only help in learning, it also helps in consolidation. How does it help in consolidation of learning? That is important. So whenever our students are involved in any form of art, whether they are drawing a diagram, or they are enacting a role playing, or enacting a concept, they are creating a model, or they are designing a poster, they are not only revising, they are processing that information that we have given. And after processing, they are connecting the dots. They're connecting the dots of that information that we have given, and then they become the driver of their learning. That they are sitting at the driving seat, and they are driving. They're the drivers. You see these children, they are working independently, so they are owning their learning. Okay, so that is why student remembers a skit longer than a lecture, or a song longer than a definition, because art moves the information, the knowledge, the concept from short term memory to long term memory. Okay, and if we have to, like, in a way, prove something. So, why did this STEM became STEAM? Why did that happen? Why we added, educators added that A? Because, globally, all around the world, the educators, the scientists, they realize one fact, that our students are learning science, but they are not able to apply it appropriately. They are not able to innovate, or they are not able to think in a creative manner. And that is why art became very important, and it was included in STEM, and now we say STEAM. Because even engineers need visualization for designing. Visualization becomes very important. Even scientists, they need models and representations. Mathematicians, they need patterns, drawing of the patterns, arranging of the patterns. And even technologists need friendly, you say, user friendly designs. So when we integrate art in our classroom, we are not trying to make our students artists. Not always, all right? We are trying to make them thinkers. We are trying to make them problem solvers, innovators, and confident learners. So that is really important. Now, we will just we discussed a little bit about art. Now let us understand what do we mean by art integration. So that is important. Again, we have to just revise what is art. Art is the creative expression of a person. It can be verbal, it can be written, visual, performance, or any other form which potentially can communicate human thought. So any form that is communicating human thought is art. And then what is art integration? When we say integration, we have to understand that it is an approach, and it is an approach to teaching where students learn core curriculum subjects through the arts. It is not just adding arts to the lesson, it is teaching with and through the arts. And here you see, we have to understand the connection among all these three. Where we talk about STEAM curriculum, we talked about experiential learning. We talk a lot about experiential learning, because when we experience something and we reflect on that experience, the children, when they experience and they reflect upon that experience, that really helps in learning and consolidation of learning. They apply that learning and they have another new experience, and in this way the cycle goes on. And then, understanding by design, we talk about UBD, design thinking. So in a way, if you see, art brings all these things together. That is the beauty of art integration. And there are so many benefits. If we talk about the benefits of integrating art, let us explore them together, that there are so many. But first, I want you to see this picture, and I want you all to, try to guess a word. What do you think when you see this picture, where there are all the activities that children do in school? And then we can see teaching of subjects in collaboration with art. So if you have to, write a word, any word that comes to your mind when you see this picture, I request you to type the word in the chat box. You watch all these things, okay? All the things that children do in the school. So as soon as a student enters the school, there are so many things in which he participates. So how can you describe this picture, this visual, in a phrase maybe, or a word, or even a sentence, where we talk about the collaboration of teaching of subjects with arts? So a day in a student's life, Miss Divya is saying, someone says, Vandana ma'am says, what is art? And exploring, all right, okay. And just think about this collaboration when we are talking about collaboration, okay. So Yes, art embedded curriculum. That is great that we are moving closer. Of course, art embedded curriculum creativity. Yes, so we can say that art is cross curricular in nature and it is multidisciplinary, because anything that the child is doing in the school learning, that is, yes, art meets education, of course. That is great. Thank you, dear friends, for participation. Now, benefits of art education, there are so many. Enhanced learning. Art makes abstract concepts concrete and memorable. And see, we always have known the importance of manipulatives in the classroom. We talk about making learning tangible. We talk about simulations, that children should be given various, situations so that they imagine themselves in a real life situation. The same thing art does. It makes abstract concepts concrete and memorable. So that is one of the benefit. Multiple learning style. We all know Harvard Gardner's, theory of multiple intelligence. We have students of multiple intelligences. Some are visual. They learn through visuals. Some listen and learn. Some, are kinesthetic. They want to move around and learn. Some children are very good with others. We say they are they have very strong, interpersonal and interpersonal. Like some are reserved and some are very friendly. Some are very close to nature. We have various kinds of students, and they are also at different learning levels. So, we give them various names. Sometimes we call them average, above average. Sometimes we say advanced, proficient, beginners. So we have students at different learning level. So here art provides opportunities, learning opportunities to all kinds of students. That is why it is important. It increases engagement. So just now we talked about engagement, engaged thinking, visualizing. They're all wearing their thinking, hats on. Art helps in that. So students feel motivated and excited. And, they have the safe space in the classroom where they can try, where they can take risk, where even mistakes are allowed, okay, because we take them as chances, opportunities for improvement. And then it helps in the development of 21st century skills. Children communicate with each other. They become creative because we give them opportunity to be creative in different ways as they like. They are critically thinking. So if they are drawing, if they are painting, if they're creating a model, they are thinking in a critical manner how to express them. And collaboration. Sometimes they work in pairs, sometimes they work in group. So a lot of collaboration also takes place. Then art allows inquiry, because it gives chance to the students to inquire, so do some research and then expression. It makes the classroom joyful. So right now everyone was talking about colors, fun, joy. So in a class where the children are involved in various forms of art, that brings a lot of joy. So that helps in joyful learning. It is multidisciplinary. So what we do is that it is not only just one subject. Sometimes there are two concepts, two subjects, and that they are learning through arts. So multidisciplinary, and children connect all those things together. And of course it is inclusive, because we are not leaving anyone behind. Everyone is included. So these are some other benefits of art integration. Okay, so now we have again a riddle time. So here you have to guess these art forms. So A says, who am I? Okay, which art form am I? I don't speak, I don't move, but I help students see ideas clearly. I turn thoughts into pictures and lessons into charts, maps, and models. Who am I? Which art form it might be? Come on, participants, write whatever. Please type in the chat box. Which art form do you think it is? I'm repeating it once again. I don't speak, art form. Okay, so if broadly we have to divide the talk about the art forms, which art form it is? I don't speak, I don't move, but I help students see ideas clearly. So focus on the word see. I turn thoughts into pictures and lessons into charts, maps, and models. Okay, so we are getting pictures, book, or a diagram. Okay, diagram, drawing. All right. So text,
Uh,
book.
Savita, we also have mind mapping that has come in.
Yeah,
Text
yeah. Mind mapping also.
mapping.
So
Pictogram is also there.
yeah. I missed because
Yeah,
these are
they
going
just
fast.
rolled up. Yeah.
So if we combine all the things together, what is common about that, about all these things that we painting? So that is visual. Okay, we see these things, so we can say this is visual arts. Visual arts, because we see all these things. Next, B says, I learn by moving. I explain by acting. I use my body more than my pen. History walks, maths joins in, and science comes alive with me. So now, which art form is this? Now, again, focus, movement, acting, body is used more than. Great. Now you are able to understand. Now, performing arts, Soma ma'am is saying, and of course, some kinesthetic, a lot of movement, performance, performing art. Great, great. Now, let's just move on. Okay, two more to go. I use words, not colors. I create pictures without a brush. Picture without a brush. I may be a story, a poem, a dialogue, or a script. I help students think, imagine, and express ideas clearly. Who am I? Yeah, role play, someone is saying demonstration. But just see, we are talking about words, okay, word picture, and then we say story, poem, dialogue, script. So what is common in all these? What is common in all these? Come on, try. I'm sure we'll get close to it. So just find common thing here. Okay, comic strip, of course, that is an example. So what will be together? Comic strip. Okay, HOTS question can also be there. So words, okay, picture composition. All right, so together we call it literary art. Okay, all written forms, so we say it literary art. Okay, now the next one, last one, it's a broad division. I live on screens. I live on screens. I mix creativity with technology. I may be a poster, a video, or a presentation, but I still help students show understanding. Who am I? The last one, D. So again, focus on the word screens, okay, technology, presentation, video. Of course, animation is an example together. Which kind of art? Digital learning. Great. So that is digital art. So broad division, if we do our broad division, so we have these art forms. So we say visual art, drawing, painting, collage making, craft, and a few more examples you gave on your own. Next is performing arts. So dance, music, drama, storytelling, and again, there can be many more. Body and voice acts, they act as tools. Then we have literary arts, poetry, songs, rhymes, chants, creative writing, recitation, spoken expression. And then we have digital arts, photography, video making, audio recording, digital drawing. Nowadays, children are so much interested in digital drawing. And here, even smartphone works. And most of the people these days have smartphones. So that is digital arts. Now, let's talk about something very important. We are talking about art integration, but here we are not just adding art as a decoration. As Shalini ma'am also said in the beginning, that it is not just adding a drawing to our lesson, we are teaching through arts. So when we teach through arts, we cannot compromise with the content. We cannot compromise with the understanding of the concept. As we discussed earlier, application, we have to pay attention to them also, and for that we need a learning framework. Okay, we have to build strong foundation, and since we are teaching, we have to pay attention to our objectives, outcomes, and planning. Okay, so let us discuss a little about these things as well. So first, learning objectives. Learning objectives are teacher focused. So what will the teacher do? What is the goal of the teaching? Okay, it is process oriented, and one example can be, the goal can be to teach addition using arts. But then learning outcomes, these are students focused. All right, the teacher has a goal to teach, has an objective to teach, and what will be the outcomes. For one goal there can be more than one outcomes. What will the students be able to achieve? What will the students be able to do or show, demonstrate, speak, create? There can be so many outcomes. Okay, so they are learning goals and they are result oriented. So if we have to give one example, students will solve 5 addition problems through a collage. So teaching objectives and learning outcomes, these are two things related, but the focus is different. And then we all know SMART. Okay, MLOs are the measurable learning outcomes. But then here again, we have to understand that we have learning outcomes. All the outcomes are not measurable. But if we are saying measurable learning outcomes, so they should be very specific, they should be achievable. So here we have to consider other things. Age appropriate art integration. So whichever art form we are planning to integrate, that should be age appropriate. It should be suitable for our context. See, every school, every classroom, they have their own context. So we have to see whether it is suitable. We also have to take care of the resources that are available to us. They should be relevant for that subject topic, whichever topic we are teaching, whichever subject we are integrating art with. And of course, time bound, classroom time is important. And we have to see that in that time period, whatever we have decided, will it be completed or not? And again, here class strength is very important. So when we are planning, we have to take care of many things. So a lot of thought we have to put into our planning. So once the plan is made well, everything goes on very smoothly. So how do we write our MLOs, measurable learning outcomes? That is really important. It is a little tricky. We have to understand one thing here, that we avoid terms like understand, know, and learn, because we cannot measure them. So let's suppose we want to say that my student will be able to understand this concept. How we will get the evidence? How we are going to measure? So for that, we have some learning, criteria. We say success criteria. What will be the child able to do? What will be the evidences? So on the basis of that, we have to write the action verb. So we say all my students will be able to create something, will be able to identify, will be able to demonstrate, construct, perform, express something that can be measured. Okay, so we are testing their understanding, we are testing their knowledge, whether they have learned or not. But these are the action verbs we have to use. And there are 3 most important questions that we have to keep in mind whenever we are talking about it. That is 3 questions. Okay, always remember, did learning happen? At the end, we have to find out, did learning happen? What was the measure of learning? What was the success criteria that the teacher had decided beforehand? And what is the evidence of that learning? So our everything, whole planning goes around all these 3 questions. So we have to remember, these are the big three. Every teacher, whenever we are making a plan, whenever we are deciding the activities and all, 3 questions we have to ask ourselves. Okay, did learning happen? What was the criteria for learning, measure of learning, and where is the evidence. That really helps us a lot in writing, framing the good, appropriate, measurable learning outcomes. So that is very important. Let's move on. Another very important thing, backward planning. So it is simple. Okay, it sounds like backward planning. How is it different from like this forward planning? It is very simple. One thing we have to keep in mind, start with end in mind. So whenever we plan a journey, the first thing is that where do we have to reach? Where is our destination? Simple question. What do I want my students to achieve at the end? And when we say what do we want our students to achieve, simple. What do we want them to speak? What do we want them to perform? What do we want them to demonstrate? So that makes the picture clear. And second question that we have to ask is that how are we going to assess that? This is my expectation, this is what I want my students to achieve. Okay, how do I assess that? How will I find out? What will be my assessment? Okay, and then you plan your activities. Last, planning the activities comes at the end because we are backward planning, and there should be alignment. All three should be aligned. So then we do not do any activity just for the sake of doing it, because dear teachers, this is very important. When we integrate art, our focus should be balanced, because if our focus is not balanced, then sometime it might happen that we are doing activities just for the sake of art, and it is not helping. So that is very important, that they are aligned. Okay, so it's not difficult. We'll discuss a few examples here. Backward planning, there are just three simple steps. First, where do we have to reach? What result is there in our mind? MLOs. Second is determine assessment evidence. What will be our evidences? Okay, when we assess, what will be our evidences? And then plan your learning experiences, and everything will be at its place. Okay, now assessment, very important. Assessing, just a minute, assessing something as dynamic as art integration. So whenever we say experiential learning, how to assess? So sometimes teachers become anxious that it is so dynamic, how to assess it. Same goes with art integration. If I'm teaching a concept and I'm integrating one art form, and through that art form I'm teaching the concept, how do I assess? That is an important question. So we have to see that we have to make learning visible. Okay, make learning visible. And how do we do that? We assess both. We cannot compromise with content learning. Okay, we have to balance it. So we have to assess both content learning, where we also assess subject knowledge. We assess whether the concepts are understood or not, and application is happening or not. Knowledge transfer, that is very important. Is that happening? Where are my evidences? So if the teacher is able to justify, then it means learning is happening, and that is the most important thing. And at the same time, art integration, so we cannot compromise there also. Which skill my students have developed? Which skills? So creative expression, art techniques that they used, and presentation. Whichever art form they used, were they able to perform appropriately? We have to assess both. Okay. What kind of assessment allows us to do that? So again, there are so many ways of assessment. There is no one set kind of assessment. So we assess through observation when the students are performing in the class, when they are doing the activities that you have designed for them. Okay, then through their performance, when they are performing, they must be submitting some end product. You must be deciding some end products, although there will be choices there, but there will be some end product. Okay, portfolios. If the children are very young, teachers maintain a portfolio. If they are a little bit grown up, they do it on their own. Review, it can be peer review, it can be the review given by the teacher. So there are so many ways of doing the assessment. But then there is one very important thing here. So time for another quick riddle. Okay, so just try to guess, who am I? Okay, I quietly show your expectations. Your here means teacher's expectation. So I quietly show your expectations. To whom? To the students, of course. I make grading fair. I guide students before they even begin. Before they begin. So just imagine there is something that makes the expectations of the teacher clear to the students. So the students know, okay, what are they learning, why, and what are they supposed to do? What does their teacher expect them to do? And I make grading fair, and I guide students before they even begin. What can it be? No, it is an assessment. We are talking about assessment. So what helps us in assessment? Is there something that helps us in assessment? I'll be giving you a hint, but I want you to try. No, there's objectives, that comes first, and questions. Just try a little bit more. Okay, let me give you a hint. It starts, oh, Benita ma'am, congratulations, rubric. Oh, that's so good. I didn't have to give any clue. Of course, that is a rubric. Okay, but again, sometimes teachers feel that is something very difficult. It is not at all difficult. And here, Benita ma'am, great, yes. So one thing, it is easy. Why it is easy? Because it is the teacher who designs the rubric. Why not? We know our expectations. Okay, I'm going to teach some topic in my class. I know my students, what is their age group, what topic am I teaching, which art form am I integrating, and what do I expect them to do. So I know what I want, and I design my rubric, and I keep it very simple. The rubric very simple. So we are going to see some examples of rubrics also. Okay, use a rubric, a scoring guide that makes expectations clear, because it is not only for the teacher, it is for the students also. And you can also involve students in designing the rubric. That would be even great. Okay, if your students, you feel they are able to do this, that again depends upon the age group we are dealing with. So if possible, do that. The children also are involved in designing the rubric. Okay, another very important thing, because we are talking about topic teaching, because we are talking about concept building, differentiation, because we all know, we all listen, and we all agree that one size does not fit all. So even if we are integrating art, we have to see that we are doing differentiation. And why do we have to do this differentiation? We all know the reason. Every child is unique. We have students with different abilities. They have different pace of learning. Everyone does not learn together. Okay, they have different interests and they have different styles. So when they all are different, how can one size fit all? So when we are planning our lesson, we have to include differentiation, and it is not difficult. It is easy. It is easy if we understand it in a very simple manner. Okay, so we have four types of differentiation. Let's understand them. First is content differentiation. Now here, that does not mean that we are teaching different content or different concepts to our children. No, the concept is similar. We keep the difficulty level little bit different. Okay, so we start with easy. Okay, then we'll move to little difficult things, and of course we will add extension to that, because again we have children with different learning levels. Some are very advanced learner, so we have to cater to their needs also. So difficulty level is kept easy and medium and a little bit extension difficult. Second differentiation is the process differentiation. Okay, different path, goal is same, but the path is different. So they are learning in a different manner, just like we discussed earlier, kinesthetic learners. So someone is writing a song, someone is dancing, someone is drawing, whatever is possible, whatever is appropriate according to your topic, concept, okay, and class group and all. So the third one is product, choice in output, okay, the end product. So we teach some topic and we ask them to do something, create something, and that creation will be different. So product is different. And the next one, the last one, is environment. But when we talk about environment, the physical and emotional learning space is adapted. So maybe a child, sometime we teach inside a classroom, sometime we take them outside, okay, uh, among the like trees and all nature. In the class also, some children love to sit at the table chair, some wants to sit on the floor, so we have mats for them. Sometime a child loves to work in a group, okay, so sometime we have individual activities, sometime we have pair children working in pair, sometime in group. So however we are able to provide that different environment to our children. One simple tip can be change their partners as like regularly as possible. So every day they sit with a different partner. That also helps them a lot. They become friendly to so many other children. So even that, you can make it a routine that every day the seating arrangement is changed. You can do it in different ways. You can draw chits and all. So even that in a way helps. Some seating arrangement, our context, whatever it allows. So someday they are sitting in one kind of pattern, sometime you change it, maybe round table. Again, that also adds some difference, that kills the monotony of the class. So all kinds of differentiation that we can provide to our students. One example I want to discuss with product differentiation, because that is really very helpful. So same topic, different outputs. So let's suppose we are teaching the topic season. Okay. So now we can give them options. So someone draws 4 seasons, someone acts out season. Maybe a group says that we will be acting, someone acts rainy season, someone acts summer season. Maybe there is a group or a child who would like to create a song, season song. Some students opt to make a photo collage, and there can be more. You can again here involve your students in deciding that how would they like to present, what would be their output. Now let's do some real task here. Let's see real examples, and we design a complete backward designing lesson plan for a few topics. So we practice it. So I would like to give you a few examples, and I've tried to incorporate various age group here. So the first one is for pre-nursery, but again the same can be modified and can be used for other grades. Okay, so we say pre-primary, learning number through arts. So here we have learning number, maths plus arts. Activity can be finger paint number. Children will finger paint the numbers. Now what will happen? What do we do? Children use finger paints to create the shape of numbers. For number 3, they make 3 fingerprints. For number 5, they paint 5 flowers, or anything that the teacher decides and that the teacher feels that the children will be able to do. That again depends upon the age group of the students. And why it works? Because there are so many things combined here. It combines counting, fine motor skills when they are drawing, visual recognition, they are able to see and identify, and children learn through touch and creativity. Okay, so this is a broad outline we say, and then we create a lesson plan, a proper lesson plan. So the first step, we decided the step earlier, backward planning, 3 most important steps. So the first step is writing the measurable learning outcomes. Okay, now you see red color. Okay, the words that are written in red, children will identify and name three basic shapes, okay? Circle, square, triangle, by creating a finger painting using these shapes. Now, we said specific, and here we have to keep it very specific. If we are saying shapes, we are saying three shapes. Which three shapes? And here we want the children to do three things, three measurable things. One, they should be able to identify, okay? They should be able to name, and they should be able to create. Now, we have to understand one thing. These are three different MLOs. Here I have written it in this manner, but you write three different, or understand that these are three different things. It may be possible that the child is able to name and identify, but is not able to create. Okay, that possibility is there. So which outcome was achieved, which outcome was not achieved, and accordingly, intervention is to be given, remediation is to be given, because that is also an important part. Okay, if we achieve the outcome, well and good. If we do not achieve, then we have to provide some intervention. Okay, of course, ma'am is asking if we can do for multiplication. Of course we can do. Which age group is it, which concept I want to teach, which art integration form I am integrating, it all depends upon the teachers. You will plan. That is all your planning. How to go about it is all your planning. We can do it for multiplication, of course we can do that. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay, now assessment, that was the second step. You remember we discussed this, that first we decide where we have to reach MLO, how are we going to assess, and how are we going to assess, we can only decide when we are very sure about the success criteria. What is the measure of learning? Okay, and what will be our evidences of learning, that we have already decided. And then we say assessment. So there will be three kinds of, like in three ways we can assess. Observation, so we are watching the students paint the shape. Verbal, we ask the children. As I said, content knowledge is very important. What shape is this? So if the child is able to identify, the child will name it. Okay, identify and name it. And product means completed finger painting. Everyone is painting, but yes, of course, some they can paint different thing. So some child can just paint dots, maybe some child creates a picture flower out of it. Again, different kinds of learner. And here we have differentiation. Maybe one child just paints dots using his finger, and maybe there is another child, so you can ask that child that you create a flower out of it, convert it into a flower extension. Okay, so that we have to understand, the differentiation even comes here. Rubric, now as I told you, keep the rubric very simple. Okay, so it is not so that a rubric has to be complicated. It can be very simple. Now we say excellent, good, emerging. Okay, so excellent names and paints all three shapes correctly. So he's able to do all three things. One was paint, one was identify, one was name. The children are able to do all three. Excellent. Okay, good. Names and paints two shapes correctly. Okay, there is another possibility that the child is able to paint but is not able to name. So there will be variety there. And the third one, emerging, names or paints, one shape with support. So even some children will do it independently, some will be doing just someone would be needing some support. So that will be there. So we have to design our rubric accordingly. Material, we have to try to keep the resources as low cost as possible. So chart papers, A4 papers, shape stencils. So it is not necessary that we have to buy the stencils. The stencils can be created by the teacher using cardboards, finger paints, water and cloth for cleaning, wiping the hands maybe. So whatever you feel, again, beforehand only we have to plan everything. Planning is the most important thing. So if you plan everything, and again, that planning can be divided in, three parts. What before the class, what during the class, and what do we do after the class is done. So extension homework is to be given related to the same thing that we did in the class. This all planning is important. Now, what will be the activity flow? What happens in the class? Okay, when we start, and then we have to give the time. So, our class time, generally, we have periods of 30 to 35 minutes. But if you have like less or more, that the teachers have to decide on their own. So, here you see plan of half an hour. So, what happens in that? Hook activity. We say starter of the lesson. It should be very interesting. So we have to make children very much interested and motivated. So we say a warm up song. So children sing shape song. So they enjoy, singing of that song. So any kind of song, anyway, the teacher has to decide. Then explore. We have objects maybe in different shapes. So we have some squares, we have some rectangle, whichever shape we have decided, and we ask children to pick those things up, feel it, see the shape. Okay, so that will help them in identification. And then creation. Okay, so what do we do? 15 minutes for creation, finger paint shape. That will take time. And here the teacher will take around and see what the children are doing. And last is 5 minutes share, show and tell. Which number, which shape did you draw? Okay, in that way, how many are there? Whatever activity, whatever assessment the teacher wants to take. So that is done here in the last 5 minutes. Okay, now differentiation not only in the like assessment, the way they do it, there also we can, the process differentiation also can be there. So there are some children, they use sponge stem because the grip is easier. Wherever the teacher feels that these children need them, we can provide it to them. Some children who are developing, they do it using their fingers and they need little bit of guidance. But there are some other students who are advanced, they paint shape, create a picture, convert that shape into a picture. So first they draw a circle. The teacher can say that, okay, what else can you draw using this circle? So the sun looks like this. So they can add those, rays there and they convert it into circle. So we are taking care of all kinds of children in the class. Those who are working independently, we can give them some little challenging tasks, little bit of extension work. Some children need support, some need less support, some need more. So we have to see to that. Now, dear participant, this one slide, I know that there is a lot of written material here, but I wanted to show you a proper full plan. So I'll be reading it out. Maybe the visibility is little less, but I wanted to show it together to you. So please excuse me for that. I'll be reading out the plan for you. So this is a full lesson plan, where we say finger paint number, the same thing that and which art form we are using. So we say visual art, tactile plus sensory, 30 to 35 minutes. The first is MLOs. What are our MLOs? Children will be able to, and then we write 4 outcomes. Okay, first, identify numbers 1 to 5, count objects up to 5, create number shapes using finger paints, match number with quantity. So specifically, what are our expectations? We have written it in the form of 4 MLOs. Starter activity, finger counting from 1 to 5. Show number flashcard and ask children to show the same numbers of fingers. So if my flashcard says 5, children show 5. If my flashcard says 3, children show 3. Okay. The other activity, like for other learners, okay, some of them would like to do something more. So you say, okay, clap as many times. So if you say 4, children clap 4 times. Okay. Then introduction, the activity introduction. So what is happening in the activity? Teacher does show a big number card 3 and counts aloud 1, 2, 3. And then traces the number in the air using fingers. So if you say 3, you trace it like this. If you say 4, you trace it like this. So there are many ways in which we are repeating the same, activity in different ways. And then what do the children do? What teacher does? So, we say slowly, a gradual release of responsibility, as we say. So first teacher does, I do. Okay, I do. The teacher models. That is very important. And this is very interesting. First is I do. Second is we do. So the teacher and the children, students, they do it together. and then you say, you do. So now the teacher observes and the children do. So remember this, we call it gradual release. So first the teacher models, I do, then we do, and then you do. So in that way, so again and again, the same activities repeated so that children understand the concept very well. Now, once it is done, now what do the children do? Each child gets a sheet with a number printed, or again, there can be variety there, a blank space to create the number. Children dip finger in the paint, and then for 3, make 3 fingerprints. For 5, make 5 either fingerprints or flowers, whatever they are able to do. And then assessment, verbal, all right? Who made number 3? Show me. So the children will show. Who made number 5? Show me. Let's count the dots on your paper together. So is it the same? Observation. Assessment can be done through observation. Can the child count correctly? Do fingerprints match the number? Okay. And after that, plenary. That is very important. Look, we are consolidating the final thing, closing as we say. Teacher asks, which number did you paint? How many fingers did you use? So these kind of questions that help children in reflection. And then some homework can be given, extension work. We send this work to the parent, homework, that parent also do the same thing using different objects at home. So like vegetables, buttons, or toys, they ask the children to count it. And if there are 3 toys, they can show it, they can write it as they wish to do that. So in that way, extension work can be given. Now let's move on to kindergarten. Here we are discussing life cycle of butterfly. So how are we going to integrate art here? Now again, first step is MLOs. So we say children will demonstrate understanding of the 4 stages of butterfly life cycle by performing a movement sequence and creating a visual representation. So there are 2 things through which they will demonstrate their understanding. So what criteria, measurable for our measurable learning outcome, they would be able to perform all 4 stages, and they'll be able to create a visual representation. All right. So how to go about it? And here, one more thing, we are integrating science with drama and visual arts. Okay. So activity flow, introduction. Now you see here, the time has increased. So we say 10, 15, 20, 10. Now it is not possible that one period is so long. So we can divide the whole activity in 2 periods. So one period we do 2 activities, 2 things, and the other period we do the 2 activities. So that is one thing. Now, story and real pictures. We want to show them the 4 stages. So a story can be told. Some real images can be shown. So those images can be shown on the screen if we have interactive flat panels in the classroom, or maybe a book, or separate pictures can be brought as according to the availability of the resources. Now, act out each stage. So again, first the teacher models, I do. Then the children copy, okay, and together with the teacher, that is we do. And then children do independently, that is you do. So I do, we do, you do. Okay. And then create. Now that performance is done, and now we have creation of those 4 stages. So make 4 stages visual. Okay. The children will create a visual for that. And then present. Now again, here present, gallery walk. I don't know how many of us know what do we do in gallery walk. So what we do, let's suppose we have divided the class in 4 groups. We have 4 stages. We have 4 groups as we want to do it. So the first group creates 1 stage, second, and you give them a time, or it's some time limit that you do it. Once it is done by all the groups, we ask the children to move to the second group. Okay, so first group moves to the second group where they have created that stage, and they identify which stage this is. How do they identify? What is there in that stage? What do they see? In this way, they move to all 4, stations in a way, and they talk about it. So this is one way. Otherwise, we can do it in any other way which you feel is appropriate. Now, how do they enact? We have to plan everything. Drama. So when they are acting as egg, that is first stage. So they curl up small and they say, I'm tiny. Caterpillar, crawl and wiggle, I'm eating. Paralysis, wrap up and stay still, freeze, I'm changing. Butterfly, spread arms and fly, I am beautiful. Now here you can ask children to bring some colorful piece of cloth so that they can hold it, because butterflies are of different color, they have different patterns. They can bring some dupattas of their mothers from home. You can tell them to bring it and they just hold it and they fly. Any way you want to do it. So these are the 4 stages that they can enact. Now this a visual I wanted to show you. This is using clay to create shapes. So here again we have to identify which shapes we want our children to learn, and then first we do modeling. Here you can say the children they have created triangle, then there is a cube, you can take square, and this is a very good way of teaching them the difference between a square and a cube, because otherwise when they see it in the picture that does not become very clear. But here when they create and then they observe that this is a square and this is a cube, okay, and if the class is little bit like age group is more, you can tell them to count the edges, the sides. That makes the concept very clear that it is a square and this is cube. So whichever shape you want them to create, they can do it. And here the resources are also very simple, a toothpick and maybe straw pieces and then the clay. So this is one example. Here. Dear participants, could you hear that voice? Then I'll play it again. I'll explain. Can you please show me a thumbs up or right that the...
Yes, Savita.
Okay. So here I want to just explain what they are doing is that they are identifying number through claps and snaps. Okay. Claps and snaps. So the children are listening carefully and they are like watching also. They will read, they will act, the other person will watch, and then they will tell the number. Listening means the person who is clapping and snapping, he has to listen very carefully what answer is the other person giving. The person who has to identify the number, that person has to watch very carefully, because if the child misses even one clap or snap, the number will be wrong. So there are so many things, there are so many skills the children are developing. So I'll be showing you this video.
Today we will play a game. Which game we will play today? In this game, you have to guess the number. Okay. We have a bowl full of chips. You will take out one chip and then I will do clap and snap. You will guess the number. Okay, so let's start the game. Okay. Please guess the number. The number is 45. Well done, now your turn. The number is 21. Well done. Thank.
So now this is another activity that was clap and snap. This is another activity where the children will be doing role play. Okay. But this role play is not only role play. This is reading, comprehension, and role play all together. And there is one interesting thing that we do in our school, that is children do all the activities in pair. And why this is important? Because talking one to one to the teacher every day is not possible, and we want our children to communicate a lot. So we have these two characters, Tina and Toto. Okay, Tina and Toto. Why we have kept two characters? Because parents also know about it, because they at home they take the role of either Tina or Toto. So all the children work in pair. One becomes Tina, one becomes Toto. They will wear that, character, and all activities they will do, and they'll communicate with each other. So here one like a comprehension story is displayed there. The children read it first. The teacher does the model reading, then the children do the reading, and after that they take the role. So I'll show you the video here.
Today we will play a... Hello, my name
I'm not able to.
Hello, Toto.
Yes.
Hello, my...
I'm not able to play it. I know why it is stopping. Just 1 minute.
Today we will play a...
Okay, I'm not able to play this video. I think there is some issue here. So I'll just tell you what the children are doing. They will be taking two roles. One character is a bird, another character is monkey. So they read their lines and they enact the same thing. And after that, they ask question to each other. So like who jumps or who flies, and in this way they give the answer. So that is role play. And the third one is show and tell. Again, that is very easy. Teachers ask the children to bring their favorite toy from their home. When the children bring their favorite toys, they can do this activity can be done in two ways. One, they show and tell their own toy. That is one thing. Or they exchange their toys with each other and they talk about that, because that helps in seeing how much observant they are. So they are able to observe or not. So in both the ways, this activity can be done.
Hello, my name is Arun. My toy name is Pizza. My grandparents give to me on my birthday. It's a fluffy. And you? Hi, my name is Akshi. I want to share you about my toy car. It goes 270 kilometers. My relatives gifted me in my birthday.
Okay, so I don't want to use a lot of time because I want to explain the other classes and integration things. Now here we are moving to higher classes slowly, that is primary. And here you can see now the number of MLO. Here the teacher has divided the MLO, one for content and another for art integration. So this is another way of doing it if you want to keep it separate, because that, adds creativity to it. So MLO for content says students will analyze and explain 5 ways to conserve water at home and school. So dear teachers, please see that as we are moving to higher classes, we are moving up in Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so we know Bloom's taxonomy. So from lots to hots. So lots we say, knowledge, application, but as we move higher, we say analyze, synthesize. So we are moving higher, and it is not necessary that in our MLO there is only 1 or 2 skills. We can have more than that. As our content and concepts demands us, we have to add like that. And then art integration, of course, student will create and present a 2 minutes awareness skit. That is one product, and another product is end product, as we say, or poster with persuasive message. So you have to see that MLOs are very carefully, planned. You can add more here if you want to give more choices to the children. You can add all there. So if you are giving them choices to have 4 products, like you want to add other than awareness skit and poster, you want something else, you can add it there. Similarly, in your content thing, if you want to add more MLOs, measurable learning outcomes, you can add. So that depends upon what your expectations are, and accordingly you will do the planning. Now let's move on. Now here you can see that instead of time, we are mentioning days. Now, because this topic is a bigger topic, the concept is a little bit, complicated. We have moved to the higher classes and we cannot compromise with the content knowledge. So we say day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. Accordingly, we can increase and decrease the number of days. So day 1 says research. We are talking about conservation. So we say research, 35 minutes if you want to use a full period for this, or in that same period, if you want to do 2 activities, again, it is entirely your choice. So what do the children do in those 40 minutes? First, they watch a video. The teacher chooses the video. So now there maybe the full video is shown, or the teacher pauses the video in between and she does the explanation. All right. And then there is a discussion. Now for discussion, see, everything should be structured. Everything should be structured. Planning is very important. So when we say discussion, we have to give questions to the children. So processing questions. What are the things, specific, areas where the teacher wants to draw their attention? So the children saw the video. Now again, you give the questions beforehand if you want, or you give the questions later on. You can play the video twice. Depends upon you. So if you're giving the questions first, the children will be focused. Okay, that these are the questions, these answers I have to find in the video. First, you just want the children to enjoy the video, and then you give the question, and then you replay the video. Your choice. Okay. Second day is planning. Now planning, because now here we are going to form groups. So these groups should be, children of mixed ability. That is very important. In all the groups, when we are making the groups, we have to be very careful. Multi-ability groups should be there. And brainstorming. Now, again, for brainstorming, you have to give them prompts. We call them discussion prompt, because brainstorming also children cannot do on their own. They need direction, hand-holding at every step. So we give them prompts, and on that prompts, they discuss. Again, when they are discussing, there should be a circle discussion that every child participates. So for this, we have to train the children. And if we are doing these things consistently, children know this. So, circle time reflection, as we say, here we say circle time discussion. Everyone will participate. Third day, creation. Now, the children in their group, whichever end product they have chosen. If they have chosen poster, they will be designing the poster. If they have chosen skit, they will be writing the dialogue. There are so many things that they have to decide, who are the characters, how many characters are there, what will they speaking. So their script writing, so many things are happening, and it's wonderful watching children doing this. Wonderful. You see how they become, as I told you, drivers of their learning. So you give them the responsibility and see the change that comes in their behavior. So they'll be writing skit, they will be creating their poster. Day 4 is the day of presentation. They have to present it. And please, one thing we have to understand, don't look for perfection. Don't look for perfection, end is important, destination is important, but the journey is also important, and the joy should be there. Children should be joyful. So sometimes, even imperfect is perfect. Improvement will happen. That is one thing very important. So the day of presentation, they are showcasing and collect feedback. And again, teachers' feedback is very important. And here again, we have to teach our children how to give feedback. Giving feedback is not so easy. So you can have in structure. The easiest one is glow and grow, that we quite often use. Glow and grow. One thing they liked about the presentation, and one thing where they want to suggest some kind of improvement. So glow is something they liked. Grow is some idea they had to give. Like we give instructional feedback. So ask children that how can it be even improved? Okay, how can it be made better? Or maybe if you were in their place, what would you have done? And children slowly develop this habit of giving good feedback, And then day 5, that is very important. Consolidation and extension is very important. We cannot just finish the thing, we have to keep, as we say, progression is very important. Personal action plan. Children talked about conservation. We just do not want to keep it there, that in book they are learning everything, they are answering everything, but they are not doing it, they are not doing it in their own action. So now this is an individual activity. So combination of group and individual is this plan they do not make in group. This is their personal plan. And then we talked about conservation at home and in school. Ask them one set of actions that they will be taking at home, another set of actions that they will be taking in the school, and also ask them extension. There are certain things they'll be doing on their own, but in case they have to spread this awareness, what are the things they're going to do at home? What are the things they're going to do at school? In school, what will they do? Are they going to explain it to others? Are they going to close a tap nicely if it is not closed nicely? Are they going to tell this thing to the others also, that don't waste the water? Okay, so that action plan is very important. So the whole topic is covered. And just imagine if the children are learning in this manner, will they easily forget this? No, it becomes memorable. It remains with them for a very long period of time. Okay, now as I told you, differentiation. So see here I have added two more end products options. So either a drama or skit or an awareness poster, or maybe they write a rap or write a song. They create a video message. Some of the children are very good with technology. They are creating presentation, so even that choice can be given. So let the students choose their strength. That is very important. We are giving agency to the children, that they choose the end product. Now there are a few very important takeaways, that a few things like I want to revise. Start with the end goal. Okay, measurable MLOs. Differentiate, always differentiate. That is really important. We cannot do one thing only for everyone, so try to differentiate as possible. The art integration should be age appropriate. Multiple ways of observation, assessment through observation, verbal assessment, any kind of written thing, various products that you are giving, and on the basis of that, plan your next cycle. Checklist, like you can have your own checklist. If you are not sure initially, you are a beginner, so you can have this checklist. Have I written MLOs and they are measurable? Have I selected the correct art form? Have I done backward planning? Is my rubric simple and very self-explanatory? Have I offered options to my students? And then according to all this, the feedback, whatever I receive, on the basis of that, I have to plan my next cycle. A quick, revision. So teachers, you have to identify the art forms here. We discussed 4 art forms earlier. Okay, so which one is this? Visual, performing, literary, and this presentation and all. We say digital. All right. So out of 4, can you please type here a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if the children are finger painting, which art form are we using here? And if they are acting, so which art form is this? Act out, the very hungry caterpillar. Then we have shape songs with action. Which art form is this? And then create a butterfly life cycle wheel. Which art form is this? If we can quickly type the answers. Okay, first is visual. Great. Minu ma'am, thank you very much. Second one, act out, very hungry caterpillar. Great, performing art, excellent. Then the third one, shape song with performance. All right, someone said dramatic. Second is dramatic. Performing art, and create a butterfly again is visual. That is great. That is great going. Let's move on. Okay, now this I'll be just reading it because there are other important things. So now we are like again primary 6 to 10. act out maths problem. So this is really helpful because many times we see that our children are not able to understand the question. And here, one thing I want to tell you, what we do in our school, and that really helps. Maths problem, we divide it in two things. One is analyzing the question and other is calculation. So when we discuss with our children, we tell them very clearly, it takes time, but after some time, children understand. We say analyze the question. So analyze the question means explain the question. Second part is the calculation. So here this helps in analyzing. Initially, we make the children act the question, and after some time, they start understanding it faster. So like here, students play as numbers. So we say 5 children are playing and 3 more join. Have students physically act this out, because see, nowhere it is written addition. And many times, it's difficult for children to understand. Like someone wrote it earlier, that children get confused in addition and subtraction. I read that here. So, but I did not answer because I knew I'm coming here. Sometimes children don't understand multiplication and division. So if the children are acting out, okay, so we say there is a group and you say you have to divide it. Okay, so don't use the word divide, use something else and let the children act it. So how it helps here is kinesthetic learning helps students understand addition and subtraction concept. No acting skill required. Here, no acting is required. You can take the children out to the ground and you take some math sums with you and ask them to enact it there. And that would really help. Another is we want children geography. We want to explain geography. So here we mix, dough and salt and a little bit of water so that like either it is neither very sticky or not very loose. And then we ask them to create landforms. Okay, so mountains and valley, whatever landforms we are like trying to mold mountains. Okay, and then after doing that, they can paint it also a little bit. And white works, tactile experience helps student understand elevation and terrain, simple material but powerful learning. So this is another idea. These are some ideas that I want to share with you, and these are all tested ideas that we are doing in our campuses and school. The next one is language through music. Create rhythm poems. Okay, so students write simple poems and add clapping pattern or percussion. They can use simple object that they have, pencils, scales they can beat it on their desk. They perform their rhythm poems for the class. White works, rhythm reinforces syllables and meter. And initially when you are doing, it is possible that you don't ask them to write their own poem. There is already a poem that you are teaching and there you ask them to sing that poem. So in that way also it can be done. Again, as I said, modification is all your choice, what you want to do. So this is another example here. Now this is very important. Here we are talking about a multidisciplinary approach. So here I'm just giving you an example. This we did with our junior students, middle school, that is class 8. They have a chapter, the Great Uprising, that is the freedom struggle, the Great Uprising. Now here, what do we do? In our staff rooms, we have syllabus, put on the notice board. So all the subject teachers know that in which subject, which topic. Okay, so let's suppose in English, notice writing was going on at that time and précis writing. So we have notice and précis writing in English. In history, the chapter is the Great Uprising. Okay, I'm just giving you this example. In computer, the children are learning slide presentation. We have cookery classes. So some of the children, and attend those fireless cooking. And if fire is involved, they cook it at home. The recipes discussed there. The children cook it at home and they bring next day to school for tasting and all. And then so here we added all these things and we asked our teachers in the PLC, that is, professional learning community, we asked them to sit together and create a whole activity, one, very experiential learning, assignment where we involve all these things. Now, how we did it, I'll just explain it quickly. The children were giving a virtual tour. Virtual tour means there were some videos and all that they were shown related to the Great Uprising, the freedom struggle that started. Then they were also told about some important characters who, the main freedom fighters who were involved in that great uprising. Then a history paragraph was given to them that they read as a comprehension passage. Okay, for that they wrote a Pressy writing. A Pressy was asked them, you all know, I think Pressy writing is writing an answer in exact 50 words. That is Pressy writing. For the virtual tour and for the other activities, they wrote notices, the notices that were put on the notice board of the school. And finally, each group prepared a presentation. And of course, they also researched about the cuisine of that time, and they prepared those one or two items and they brought it to the school. And in the lunch period, they shared it with others, like we say, pool lunch. So this was the whole activity that was planned. And of course, it was not done in a day or two. We do it in a month. So week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4 is the culmination. In that way, it is planned so that the children are not giving a lot of time for one activity only. So I just want to show you this video, and that will help you understand it better. So this is experiential learning assignment. History topic, grade 8, the Great Uprising. English topic, notice writing, Pressy writing. The children also did some inquiry based research. Then there was role play, virtual tour, cuisine, interview. Yes, one of the part was parents. The children also interviewed their grandparents. So all those who have grandparents, those who did not have grandparents, those who do not live with them, they went to some other elderly people in the society and they interviewed a few questions, whatever they knew about the freedom fighting, whatever ideas they had. So they just note down the points and they brought it. And then finally, there was this PowerPoint presentation prepared by the students. So I want to show you a glimpse of that.
Hello, I'm Sadaf Nas, class E8, and as you can see, I'm researching on my history ELP project and watching some videos on my topic, which is Great Uprising of Lucknow and Kanpur.
Hi, I'm Ahmed Mani.
I am Rani Lakshmi Bai, the Queen of Jhansi.
Kari Bai, who saved the Queen. I distinguished myself as Rani Lakshmi Bai.
I am Bijris Kadir. I was born in August 1845 at Kesarpur, Lucknow to Nawab Wajid Ali Shah.
This is the Pressy writing work that they did. And for that, we gave them a rubric here also, so that they knew what they are expected to do. Grading also was given to them.
Good morning and gentlemen. I'm Latika Srivastava of Class 8H, and today I'm here with my brother for an interview about the Indian freedom. So let's begin.
So here what we saw there was a complete project, and we did a culmination for that. And when we took the test was also taken, because as I told you that we don't compromise with the content. The children really scored very well, whether it was Prezi writing or it was notice writing, and the chapter test, content of the chapter, everywhere the children scored quite well, because a little time is taken. See, that I understand, that time is given, time is invested, but then we learn, we get so much of learning. And dear teachers, one thing you have to understand, we do not have to integrate it every time, each and every topic. We are not doing that, okay? Especially in the beginning, we have to choose it very carefully. Please do a pilot implementation. One topic in one class, you gather all the feedback. You can invite some of your colleagues to come and sit in the classroom and observe it. As much of feedback you can get. When children go home, they share everything with the parents, collect their feedback. So you are collecting the feedback of all the stakeholders. You are collecting students' feedback. If you invited any colleague to your classroom to observe the class, take feedback from them, take feedback from the parents. What did the children tell them at home? And then you yourself do reflection, okay? What went well? Many times when we teach in one class and we go to the same class to teach the same topic, we make changes there, because we observed, we experienced, and we ourselves know that what can I do in a different manner, okay? So you collect feedback and then you self-reflect what went well and even better if. And after that, you integrate art in some other topic. So if you do this, slowly improvement will come. So start with small, and slowly when you feel more confident and you can see the impact of it, do it more often. So that is another thing I want to suggest. Here is another example, but I just walked up to go a little faster. We don't have time. So, practice time, choose one topic at a time, plan backward, include art, and add differentiation. Okay, now this one sample lesson plan, I don't know it will be visible. Just try if I can take you there. Just 1 minute. Share this tab instead. Yeah, you can see. So please excuse me if it is not very much visible to you, but this is important, so I want to share. I'll be scrolling it down and I'll be reading it out. This is a lesson plan, that is enactment. All right, reading enactment, model reading here in the class. So the lesson title is Readers Theatre. Readers Theatre, bringing stories to life. Okay, now grade level, I have written all grades because you have to adapt it according to the age group. So adapt instructions and script complexity as needed. So for younger children, you can keep a simple script. For children of higher classes, you can keep a complicated script. Okay, duration is 40 minutes. Again, backward designing, stage 1. Okay, desired result. What do you want the children to be able to do? Okay, now as we move down, what students should understand and be able to do. So what are the big ideas? Now, when we talk about understanding by design, we talk about enduring understanding. Enduring understanding simply means the essence of the concept that the children should remember and should be able to apply. So students will understand that reading fluently means reading with expression, accuracy, and understanding, not just speed. So we have to teach this to our children. Another important thing that they have to understand is that the big idea, voice, tone, and pacing help convey meaning and emotions in the text. So model reading, when the teacher does the model reading, she reads in sad way, sad tone. She reads in an energetic manner, happy tone. So when the teacher does the model reading, students understand. Collaboration improves performance and comprehension. These are the 3 big ideas that we want to give to our students. And then we have essential questions. These questions help in the development of enduring understanding. So what are the essential questions we'll be discussing with our children? Ask them this question after the model reading: how does expression change the meaning of the story? Why is reading aloud different from reading silently? Children will, and again, as I told you, there is no right or wrong answer. That you have to give them that safe space where they are ready to share what they think. So there is no right or wrong answer. Just listen, hear them out what they are saying. Then the other question you can ask is, how can teamwork improve storytelling? So what are our reading outcomes? By the end of the lesson, students will be able to read a script aloud, but along with that, only aloud is not enough. Appropriate expression, pacing, and clarity. Demonstrate understanding of character and dialogue. So the character, so they can assign a different, voice to different character. I'll be showing you a video after this. And collaborate respectfully during group reading and performance. What will be your assessment evidence? As I told you, measure of learning. How do we know learning has happened? You remember those 3 questions? Did learning happen? What is the measure of success? And what is the evidence of learning? So what are the performance-based assessment? So primary, voice modulation, appropriate pauses, character-based expression. Are the children changing their voice according to the character? Participation and confidence. What will be our formative assessment during the lesson? Teacher will observe, peer feedback after performance, and script marking. See, this script marking is something very interesting. When the children get the script, they mark it, where to speak, where to pause. Okay, so here the teacher can provide them guidance. So in the script, first they do the marking, where to speak, where to pause. So that really helps them when they are reading it. Then reflection and exit evidence, exit ticket. Either the children write their comment or glow and grow. They give the feedback to their partners or to the other groups. Okay, and also they can give very quick reflection, thumb meter self-assessment. Either say they're very good or not so good, or like average. All right, some improvement can be made, so that you can decide on your own. Success criteria that we have already shared with the children beforehand. I read clearly and audibly. The child will self-check, peer and self-assessment. I used expression to match my character. Okay, if they are different characters, they will have their own expression. I worked cooperatively with my group. Then stage 3 is the learning plan, and that is a whole 40 minutes thing. So I don't want to be there because that we don't have much time here. So we come back to our original presentation, and just I want to show you a video here. Okay, so I'll be showing a video just after a little while. So now here at the end, there are a few tips I want to give you for success. That is, start with 1 lesson per week. So in a week, you are teaching many classes. You are going to take many periods, but do it only for one lesson, because you need a lot of planning. And when you do it with a lot of planning and you are successful, that gives you a sense of achievement. So initially you start with 1 lesson per week. Okay, share the MLOs with your students. Now here one thing very important I want to share with grades 5 and 4 and with grades 6, 7th and 8. Ask them to help you out, involve them when you are framing the MLOs. It really helps teachers. Believe me, we do it in our school. So when we are teaching a chapter, let's suppose it's a literature chapter, we ask the students, what are you expected to do? And they tell the MLOs on their end that, ma'am, I should be able to read it properly, appropriately. I should be able to spell the difficult words. I should be able to form sentences. I should be able to, comprehend the text. They tell it on their own. So initially it will take a little bit effort, but later on, students themselves understand. And when you discuss the MLO with them, that increases their accountability. So after the chapter is done, the topic is completed, you can ask them, the children, go back to the place or you have written down somewhere and check whether you have achieved the MLOs or not. So that really helps. For younger children, you can do it on your own because they will not be able to contribute much here. Keep your rubric simple, document with photos. Documentation is very important because later on that helps you in referring to, all right? And while planning, you can go back and you see the documentation that you helps, and collaborate with colleagues. That is very important. In our PLCs, we share best practices with each other. So one teacher does something and it is successful, he shares it with others. So in that way, in the PLCs, weekly or fortnightly, lightly, you have PLCs, you share your good ideas with each other. Keep the material low cost. Reflect, all right? Did students achieve MLO? This is very important. This is very important because that will help you, modify. You tried something, okay, and now you are reflecting. Did students achieve the MLOs? Yes or no? How much success was there? Did art deepen understanding? Because see, we are using art to deepen their understanding. So did that happen? Where are your evidences? So that is very important, okay? And we have to be very true to ourselves because, if anything, no class is a perfect class. There is always scope of improvement, okay? Then our students engaged, and then engaged. You remember meaningful engagement? We talked about it. Sometimes, children are engaged, but they are off task. And this happens, all right? This happens that children are doing something, but that is off task. So engagement is, meaningful engagement. What to change next time? So you know the answer yourself. You will get the answer that is there any change I need to make? So please do that. And the most interesting thing is unexpected learning. So, I told you, remember initially, art happens consciously and unconsciously. Unconsciously, that is very important. And that is the beauty of art integration. Please do mention what surprised you. Okay. And really, there will be so many surprises. I'll tell you, you'll be so many surprises. You will, you'll not be able to anticipate, and you will see that, oh, something else also happened. And that is, what? You will not see your children as only presenters. You will see your children as problem solvers, thinkers, designers. They'll manage the classroom. You will see them working as, as I told you, drivers of their learning. You will see their confidence and the kind of responsibility they take. When you give them the responsibility, they really become so, we say accountable for their learning. So there will be so many surprises for you if you do it. Sustainability tips, that is, you can prepare some rubric. You can have a kind of a shared Google Drive, and all the templates that you are preparing, all the rubrics, you save it there. It can be a kind of a, resource bank. And the same Google Drive is shared with all the teachers. It really helps. You can have subfolders there. So you can have one folder for all the rubrics, another folder for any kind of template or reflection sheet that you have prepared for the students to fill. So, you have different folders. Somewhere you are sharing the pictures, somewhere some very good video. Anyone who needs, they can go there and take the resources from there. So slowly you see that slowly it will be resource bank will be created, and things become easy. This year you did something, you have everything ready. Next year, either you use it as it is or you make some simple changes there. So, life becomes easy. So that is why this sustainability is very important. Students' voice, please give agency to the children, ask for their feedback, let them suggest art form, that which art form do they want to integrate in this chapter or for this concept. Give them choices, listen to their ideas. Now, teachers, we do not have much time left. I just want to quickly tell you about this. This is a very interesting activity that was done. The topic was, laws of motion. Okay, it's a physics topic. It's a middle class. Gravity, surface area, like maths and physics, they did it together. Children brought some material and they created a parachute. So maths, how did they do it? We asked them to calculate the surface area, we wanted the surface area of one parachute to be bigger than the surface area of the other parachute. So they measured it, they cut the paper, and then they brought that disposable spoon. There they drew their favorite character. So someone drew Iron Man, someone drew Batman, whatever their favorite, Powerpuff Girls, all right. So they drew that, and then they created this parachute. Then they dropped those two parachutes from the same height. So some of them climbed on a chair and they dropped it from there, and then they measured, okay, that how much time did those two parachutes take to fall. Okay, and then there were so many things. They measured the distance. I'll show you the reflection sheet. So it was just not only a activity, there were guiding questions given. These guiding questions were given beforehand to the students, and they were also given this reflection sheet where, see, they will be writing the side of the square, they will write the surface area of the paper, they will write the height of drop, then they will measure the time and they'll write time taken and any other factor. So any other factor, we talked to them about that. So if the fan was moving, okay, so there was more resistance because of the fan. If the fan was closed, the resistance was less. So all these things were discussed. And then finally, when the activity was done, we had one interview, okay, where the teacher is interviewing the children. That I want to show you quickly.
What did you observe when both the parachutes were fall from the same height?
The parachute which was having much surface area came later on to the ground, but the parachute which is having more surface area came much later, and the parachute having small surface area came much earlier. It was because the parachute with much surface area, the force of air was acting effectively, but because the surface area of the smaller one was less, so the force acting on it was less, thus it came much earlier than the parachute which was having much surface area.
So which force was there in that?
Gravitational force and the resistance of air.
Again, assessment without stress, focus on growth, not perfection. Assess learning, not just art, very important because we are teaching the concept through art. So learning is very important, our evidences of learning. Give descriptive feedback when and where required, and highlight strengths first. Even if you want to give them some instructional feedback or some area of improvement, first talk about the strength, then talk about the weakness. That is very important. And those who are new beginners, so please start simple, focus on process, collaborate with each other, use simple material, ask yourself, how can we show this? And celebrate creativity. Even if a little bit of achievement is there, it has to be celebrated. I'll not be showing you all this. I just want to show. There are so many, but I
Mr. Mighty Elephant, I hear you are the strongest. Will you fight a tug of war with me? You, a teeny tiny tortoise, will fight a tug of war with me.
Good morning, Mr. Elephant, Clever Tortoise said cheerfully. Will you take the end of this rope? Then we can begin. Huh, snorted Elephant. What nonsense.
Okay, so now at the end, I just want to say that the same story was presented by two children in two different manners. You saw that one child made those, hand puppets. Another child just created a sheet there and the figures were attached to it. And she was, using those ice cream sticks that she had pasted and she was using it in that manner. So here again, the, choice is given to the student how they want to present the story. So at the end, I just want to say that you don't need to be an artist. Art integration is about using creativity to enhance learning, not about being a professional artist or performer. So start small, have fun, and watch your students' engagement soar. So that brings it brings an end to my presentation. I hope there are a few takeaways. And Shalini ma'am, are you there?
Very much here, Savita. Thank you so much. I think there were a couple of questions that I had seen earlier, which related to subjects, if I'm not wrong, specifically to math. There was Padmavati ma'am who asked if there is something that we can do for multiplication. I believe she has a few students struggling with multiplication, and if she can have some ideas which are art integrated to
Yes.
help her students.
So again, I don't know which class she's talking about, if the younger children are there, or if there are like grown up children. So if they are younger children, we do this one activity where we do division and multiplication. So a bunch of straws, and we keep glasses for division. For multiplication, what do we do? Again, children act like numbers. So let's suppose there is 2, okay, and then we have to multiply 2 by 4, okay. So 4 students will be called, and here 2 children, and they will pick up those numbers of straw, and they will, like, 4 students just stand at equal distance. The child collects. So from here, he took the same number of straw. Then he will take the same number of straw from 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. And then we say repeated addition is multiplication. So if the child understood the concept of addition, we again and again have to say that repeated addition is multiplication. So in that way, it becomes clear. The second thing is that the child has, let's suppose, 50 straw. And I say we have 50, we have to divide it among 5 people. So what do you do? So what does the child do? He starts keeping those straws in those 5 glasses continuously until and unless all those 50 are finished. And then the child counts and he says that this is the answer, the number of straw. So there are certain things that we have designed, and then we do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Savita. Padmavati ma'am, I hope that is one of the solutions that you can try out, an idea to try out in the class and see if children are learning from it. I'm sure Padmavati ma'am is teaching in primary classes, so this should be helpful for her. All right, great. Okay, so I think with that, we have come to the end of the webinar. 2 hours just flew off, is what I would say. I kept reading messages from teachers where they found the session to be extremely valuable and practical for classroom use. So thank you so much, Savita, for all the different ideas that you have given for different subjects, different classes that the teachers will be able to use in the class. And teachers, thank you so much for being here. I know it was one of the most interesting sessions that you have been looking forward to. Thank you so much for participating. You have been very active in putting in your answers, your responses, your reflections to each and every question that our dear facilitator kept giving to you. So thank you again. And a gentle reminder, you will receive your certificate of participation in your email, and you need to fill in the feedback form as soon as the session gets closed here, right? So you will receive the feedback form on your screen, fill it up, and your certificate will be available in your email. Just in case you do not receive the email, the certificate in your email, give a call or message the manager for academic excellence allotted to your school, and they will be able to help you out. Do remember that the certificate is generated by the system only if you have attended 1 hour of this program, right? Okay, then. So thank you so much. And advance wishes for Christmas and a very, very happy New Year. So next time we meet up with a webinar in association with CENTA, we would already be in 2026. And I wish all of you a very, very beautiful year ahead.
Same, I also want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. All right, teachers. So enjoy the rest of the evening and see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, Savita.
I just wanted to ask you,
sure.
Can I also get that feedback so that it would be good for me also, because I'll do it.
Sure. I'm sure we'll be able to share that.
2 things I requested you, if I can get the
yes, both
recording,
of them will be taken care of.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, teachers, I am closing this session now. Bye.